Yes.
It's running? Okay.
Alright. As stated by my colleague Martina, my team firmly believes that there is absolutely no need to federally enforce age restriction policies created by the ESRB. Martina already gave you a better understanding of the circumstances structuring this debate and illustrated some of the problems this amendment can pose. Now I'm going to take you a step further into analyzing this proposal and present you with some reasons why this is simply a ludicrous and poorly thought out amendment. I'll start by explaining why federalizing the ESRB's age restrictions wouldn't make any dramatic improvements on the number of minors who purchase M-rated games. I'll also establish some of the moral conflicts surrounding the restriction of buying powers for minors. We'll explore some ideas regarding the responsibility for parents to exercise their own beliefs on their own children. Lastly, I'll conclude by analyzing the constitutionality of the government suspending a company's freedom of speech or expression. As a result of the growing popularity and creativity of video games in the early 1990s, a controversy over their influence quickly developed. As a result of this, the ESRB was established in 1994. Since then, several very popular department stores and retailers have joined a committee in which they agreed to enforce ESRB age restrictions as store policy. This action makes the sales of video games which have a rating of M or AO to minors illegal through all of the retailers' franchises. However, the enforcement of these policies are less than satisfactory. A study conducted in 2008 by the ESRB themselves revealed a shocking 1 in every 3 under 17 secret shoppers were able to buy M-rated games with no trouble. Furthermore, this study was only conducted among stores who have entered an agreement to enforce the ESRB's ratings and restrictions as law. Now, in conclusion with the facts provided, I think the only logical takeaway from this would be that even if this policy was to be regarded as national law, it wouldn't stop the sales to minors. To extrapolate on this concept, teenagers and adolescents have a habit of getting their hands on adult material every day. According to the NIAAA, a 2009 study showed that 70% of all citizens by the age of 18 have had experience with more than sips of alcohol. Regardless of the legality of these actions, they continue to happen. Another issue that arises while trying to establish serious restrictions like these is human rights and where this policy would fall among them. Is it fair for our government to restrict our buying power on certain items such as video games because of our age? Every day, teens and adolescents are held to the same expectations of adults through behavior and choices. Yet, these same teens are refused some of the basic rights our Constitution implements for all men and women. Under the definition of a free market, an individual is allowed to buy and sell as they please. However, every single day, our country loses sight of this ideology, allowing the government to assume more control over basic freedom. To federalize the ESRB would mean to nationally enforce this policy with consequences. The ESRB analyzes the content of every single video game before it is produced. After the content of each game is established, an age-restrictive rating is then implemented. The problem with this system is there's no definite age that corresponds with the level of violence or gore a video game might include. I find that this policy is a way for the government to assume a responsibility that traditionally would have been expected of our parents. Each and every parent has a different, slightly altered set of values and beliefs. These values are passed on to their children through their upbringings and through the choices a parent makes for their child. Furthermore, there is no one right or wrong way to raise a child, nor is there some foolproof guide to being a parent. As a parent, you have a lot of power and control on setting up both rules said and unsaid in your household, and with that, the job to enforce them. If you truly disagree with video game violence, or feel that there is a connection between violent video games and violent behavior, then it is your job to enforce that belief in your house. It is completely unnecessary to make this a law for every single person in the U.S. just because you have a strong opinion leaning to one side. You don't need it to be a law to have it as a rule in your house. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are in support of this policy. However, to legally enforce this will make the lives of just as many, if not more, people a lot more difficult. I disagree with the common claim that parents are too busy to know what games their kids are buying. or to enforce any age restrictions in their house for several rather obvious reasons. First of all, if you truly believe that video games were a serious danger to your child's mental health, it can be assumed that you would consider taking 30 seconds out of your week to flip over a video game and check the very obvious rating plastered on the back of the case. Secondly, if you were so busy 24/7 that you couldn't spare 30 seconds for your child's well-being, then you might want to consider looking into other possible reasons why your son or daughter is developing violent or antisocial behavior disorders. According to a study posted on psychologytoday.org, the need for parental presence during child's growth is crucial to mental and emotional stability. In short, this parent who is too busy to enforce his own house rules and beliefs is causing significantly more mental and emotional trauma to their child because of their lack of parenting. The last point I would like to get across is the impact this policy would have on the First Amendment, as seen in the U.S. Constitution. To restrict a video game based on theories with no clear evidence to support them would be ludicrous on its own. The thing about this restriction on a legal claim: this restriction would interfere with the First Amendment, which reserves the freedom of speech to all individuals. Our government would be breaking the law, their law, if they were to restrict the audience of which a game producer can sell their video games based on what is said throughout the video game. Don't take my word for it, though. In 2011, the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 against a bill which would essentially enforce the ESRB's policy throughout California because of its interference with the First Amendment. The ruling on this bill wasn't even a close call because it's plain and simple. It's unconstitutional to suspend a company's rights to freedom of speech or expression as it is for any individual. In conclusion, there is simply not enough information and research in support of violent video games influencing behavior to make this policy a law. Until there is more reasonable or convincing facts to connect violence to video games, it is simply impractical to implement a law. Finally, I'd like to reiterate that my colleagues and I are in complete disagreement with the federalization of the ESRB policy. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. If you guys want to leave your voting sheets on your desk, I will grab them. Yeah. Affirmative side, 1 to 58 votes. Yeah.